the Plant Daddies podcast.
And we sort of had a chat about finances and stuff, and it was just kind of like, well, I guess we just got to make this your job then.
Will from Daisy Brain, how are you? How's it going?
I'm all right, man. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's all right, man. It's been a long time.
How was the Lexington?
It was insane. Yeah. I mean, it's weird, like coming back off that tour that we just came from and playing these shows with actual fans at these shows. People were actually like screaming the lyrics. It was just a bit of a bizarre like show, but I really enjoyed it. I think we had a bit of a problem with the lights, actually. I don't know if you noticed.
I thought that might have been like a creative decision.
It was half a creative decision. We asked for it to be backlit, but I think the guy took it too literally and I couldn't see anything. It was just completely just black. My fretboard was just like non-existent. I just couldn't see anything. So the entire set, I was just getting progressively more angry and aggressive out of just pure frustration that I couldn't see anything.
Having to guess where you're playing.
Yeah, literally. We had this song called Power Train, and it goes between like this G and a D chord, and it's a big jump, and I have to like look at my fretboard for that, and I just couldn't find it, and I just kept mucking it all up. And it's quite like an isolated part as well. It's just me and the guitar, so everyone could notice, and I was just getting really like panicked on stage, like I can't see anything. But besides that, it was great. It was really good.
We love to see it. So you've just put out the first single from the upcoming EP, Digital Atlas. What's the reaction been like?
It's been great. Yeah, people seem to love it. It's the first time I've ever released music, again, like to fans, people who just adore it, and they seem to be posting about it all the time. Twitter's going off. It seems really exciting. We're getting some good looks as well. It just, it feels quite exciting to be releasing music under this sort of guise now. Obviously, you've known me for a while, so been releasing music for quite a while under different kind of bands, and this is the first release I've ever done with fans. So it's really good. It's going really well.
It's been interesting seeing the kind of the thematic shift, I guess, from Let's Go Camping EP, very kind of like even like the videos and everything was very outdoorsy, to this Digital Atlas era where you're talking about playing World of Warcraft, and it's very like in line, inside even, and online. What prompted that shift? And I guess also, did you approach writing Let's Go Camping differently? Like you were saying, there wasn't a fan base there. How did you approach them differently?
Well, Let's Go Camping, I think both EPs have sort of the same theme, where it's just all about escapism. And I just wanted to explore that a bit more. So obviously Let's Go Camping is about going out and exploring and, through all these different kind of things, like going to parties and doing all these quite toxic things. But this new EP is very much about sort of staying inside and finding forms of escapism at home, in your room, whether that be playing World of Warcraft or smoking a blunt or something. Do you know what I mean? It was mostly written in lockdown. So I guess that's where that whole world sort of came. It's definitely not a lockdown EP, but it's got the same theme as the first EP, just warped, I think.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you a big camping enthusiast? Is that part of your life?
No. I actually don't like camping that much. No.
Really?
The only time I've ever camped and enjoyed it was like festivals.
So what's your like camping essential?
Baby wipes.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I regretted not bringing them the first time I ever went, and it was just an awful experience. Didn't have a towel for a shower, so I stank. But second time, baby wipes sorted me right out. And a toothbrush. Weirdly, I forgot that the first time as well.
You're gonna need a list. We're gonna need to make a list for the next festival. Like you mentioned, we've known each other for a long time, and I've seen you through different bands and different projects, and like was it music production at Leeds? So
Yeah.
a lot of the music that I've known of you before Daisy Brain has been very produced and electronic and poppy. So hearing the first few Daisy Brain songs, it was such a shift. But so what prompted with the first EP to kind of strip all that back and just go like balls out, gnarly rock tunes?
I don't even know. I think I moved to London and I started working in this pizza place called Paradise Slice, and you could only play heavy music there because there were these vents that were so loud. Anything soft, you just wouldn't be able to hear. So we had Smashing Pumpkins on, Green Day, Deftones, all of that. And even on the way home on the tube, you still had to play loud music. So I guess I was just surrounded by that constantly. And growing up, I was actually like well into like My Chemical Romance and Green Day as well. And I guess it just kind of took, a full circle, kind of went back to that, my roots a little bit, and stopped trying so hard to be the producer. I know I was doing my degree in production. I guess I went a bit hard on that. And then as soon as I moved, I kind of just, I guess, matured a little bit and wanted to do something that I actually enjoyed doing rather than what I thought I should be doing. So that's how I guess it all began.
Nice. Are there elements of the kind of music production stuff that have translated into Daisy Brain stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. All the drum programming is still like weird as hell. Like I love just diving into the stems and messing around with snare samples and kicks and just making a full like arrangement sonically, like on my laptop. I've never written a song in a band room, so nothing Daisy Brain has ever made has been live ever. So I guess this has been, as the roots of production have sort of come into Daisy Brain quite heavily, rather than just being completely like, oh, let's go raw and like make a song in a band room and with no tempo. Do you know what I mean? Just like going free. There's nothing like that. So yeah, I guess the production element's still there.
So you kick things off very quickly. Like you've put a couple of songs out, and then next thing we know, you're on tour with Youngblood. How was that as a kind of first, maybe not first touring experience, but first major tour to be in at the deep end? How was that?
Scary. It was really scary. I mean, before that tour, the most people I'd ever played to was maybe like 200 people. And then the first show of the tour was 3,000, 4,000. And halfway through that set, the power cut out. Like the worst thing you could think of happened. Like everything went out, the mics, everything. And I was on stage and I was screaming to the crowd, like, who's excited for Youngblood? And my brain just wiped. I was like, I don't know what else to say now, because I can't have a conversation with these people because they can't hear me. I can only shout things. And luckily we had this deck guitarist for that one show, and he's quite a confident, charismatic guy. So he was sort of like walking up to the front of the stage going like, hey, and making them all like scream. And it was good. He kind of saved me a little bit there. But the rest of the tour, we had our other guitarist, Jess, and it was insane. Honestly, it was weird hearing the difference in like just the response from a crowd, like from like cheers in a room of 200 people to like a roar of a crowd to like 10,000 is just like, I couldn't put that into words, honestly. It was insane. Like it was the best like 3 weeks of my life.
What was the most unexpected thing coming out of that? Like what was the biggest difference between, obviously like the crowd reaction, but just I guess the dynamic of touring on that scale? What was something you didn't expect, and what was something you learned?
To be honest, I guess it was again like the crowd reaction, not so much like in the venues, but post show. Like kids will come up to me and talk to me about the songs that I'd written, and they'd never seen me live before, but they listened to the tunes before because obviously they'd seen me on the poster. And the way they talk about the songs I write, I've never had a conversation like that before. No one's ever told me that my songs have saved them. Do you know what I mean? And it feels so like it just feels like otherworldly, just having these conversations with these kids and feeling like I'm actually making a difference to some of their lives. I think that was the biggest like hit for me. I never even thought about that even happening. You know, I knew at some point I would like to be playing in front of crowds like that, but when you get off the stage and all these vulnerable kids come backstage, not backstage, but like where you go to where the buses are and they're all hanging around there, like you just forget about that part where these kids are genuinely just want to be there to just say hi and like hug you. And it's just, that was the weird thing for me. I never thought about that part, and it just happened.
It was interesting, like the Lexington show. It felt like a bigger room. Like it was so articulated, and like you could tell that you've kind of had this trial by fire, and you've had to kind of like adapt to playing massive rooms, and it really translates when you bring that back to the Lexington. It sounded amazing.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, well, we used the same sound engineers we had on tour, and we've been working together for a while, so he knows the show like the back of his hand, and he knows exactly what I want. You know, I've given him so many references from like Fugazi to My Bloody Valentine, in terms of like guitar tones, and over time, over that tour, and then gigs between Lexington and that tour, we sort of developed our perfect live sound. We're still working on things. We're still finding the right amps. We're not quite there yet. I think we're closer than we were before the tour. But yeah, it's quite a nice aspect of like being in a band that plays live, just sort of developing the sonics of it live, because you spend so much time doing that on production, on the actual records, but I don't think enough bands spend enough time being like, that snare's not quite snappy enough live, because they spend most of the time on the stage, not in front of it. And I'm lucky enough to be able to like sometimes just come off stage and like listen to it myself and really think about that with our sound engineer. So yeah, that's probably where it all comes from.
Obviously, like you've played a couple of headline shows, but going into these headline tours, I also love that you're like announcing tours before you've done this tour. Like and seeing the venues get bigger immediately is great. Obviously, like support slots, you kind of come out and just like explode for half an hour and put as much energy out as you can. How do you approach a headline show differently when it comes to kind of creating those moments and kind of building a set list?
Thinking about structure of the set, I guess. Like, yeah, like you said, like for supports, when I spend that entire half an hour screaming and making it just exciting from start to finish. But when it comes to headlines, we've had to put a bit more thought into it, and where does it go down and where does it be brought back up? And we're still working that out at the moment, I think, because we've not actually done our first headline tour yet, but we're nearly there. I think, yeah, from just watching so many bands in my life, I've sort of got the progression in my head there. It's just figuring out what songs fit that progression for me, and how early is it as well, because we've got some softer songs we've not actually released yet, and it's that debate of like, do we play these soft ones that no one's heard before, because people will hopefully enjoy it, but it is still the first tour. So it's that whole question of like, you know, it's only 4 dates, this first one. Do we just do it like a festival tour? Do you know what I mean? Like just play from start to finish, quite heavy, fast, loud, or do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a hard question to answer. I feel like the second tour is going to be very much thought out. The first one might be a bit more hectic.
We'll have to find out. I'll come along.
Yeah, do man.
So you and I have got a bit of an interesting backstory. I've tried to do the maths. I think it was 7 years ago. You were busking in Camden, and we got chatting, and I think you asked me to like your band's Facebook page. Like that's how we kept in touch, and we followed each other on Instagram through the years, and I've seen the different projects, and now Daisy Brain's a thing, and you're killing it. Like what's happened in those 7 years? Like what have I missed?
A lot of drama, a lot of terrible music, a lot of change. I mean, we've all grown up, haven't we? 7 years is a long time, so it's a lot of time to like think about what you really want to do. You know, obviously to you, I've always wanted to do this. You met me busking, so I guess it was just going through different bands I've been in and figuring out what I liked from each band and what I wanted to keep and what I didn't want to do again. And it just, Daisy Brain came out of that, really. And then what I said earlier with the whole like finding my roots again by listening to Smashing Pumpkins and Green Day all over again through working at a pizza store, I guess. All of that together brought out Daisy Brain. I don't really know. It's so hard to say. In 7 years, it's just so much has happened, I guess, personally.
Well, I'll help you along. One major shift that I saw was obviously going from a kind of supporting role in Atlantic Shore to Dream Estate fronting it. What prompted that change? Where, like, did you always want to be the front man, or?
Not really. I just wanted to be in a band at first. And then I started writing songs and I got a hit from that. I just, that feeling when you finished writing a song and you show someone for the first time, whether it's a good one or a terrible song, there's still that sort of sense of achievement that I needed, I feel like, and I wanted to pursue, and I just kept going with it. And, you know, I wrote a lot of terrible pop songs, but that feeling of finishing one you're really proud of is what drove me to be the songwriter. And being the songwriter, I sort of like had to sing the songs because I didn't really want anyone else to sing my songs. So it was never I want to be the front man, I want to be at the center of the stage. It was more like I want to be the songwriter, I want to be the storyteller. And that's why Daisy Brain is, you know, image wise, it's me. Even though I write most of my stuff musically with the guy called Dan, who's here pretty much every day doing music with me. Yeah, the image is just me because it's mainly about the storytelling.
Amazing. And kind of going through all these different genres and different kind of production styles and stuff. And like we've already said that there's kind of production elements coming into the second EP. It must be quite exciting to have all that foundation that you can then explore through Daisy Brain. And I guess like because you're starting, this first EP is so balls out rock tunes, you're kind of starting from the foundations and you can kind of explore from there. Do you have an idea of where you want it to go? Have you planned the third, fourth EP, an album?
Yeah, it's all planned out already, man. Like I spent as soon as my last band like sort of finished, I was planning it straight away. I know exactly what it's going to sound like. I pretty much have all the songs written. I guess the next step is just like, really fine tuning all the production elements, but I do know what I want it to sound like. I know what I want the second album to sound like. It's all thought out. I'm really excited to show you. It's going to be wild. There's going to be a lot more production elements, but subtle. I don't want it to be like a pop record. I don't want it to be, you know, like, I don't want to shit on this parade, but I don't want to, you know, be like a Muse and put loads of production on our rockier tracks. I want it to be a bit more subtle, and then maybe third album we'll chuck some more in. But yeah, I've got it all planned out.
Amazing. And I guess to kind of wrap up, like we talked about, you were working in a pizza shop and listening to Smashing Pumpkins and Green Day and stuff. And then Daisy Brain took off. Like, when was the point where you were like, oh shit, this is like my job now, and it's less viable to work in a pizza shop because you haven't got the time? Like, what was that transition like, and what was that kind of jump like?
I guess I realized it was my life when I lost the job working in pizza because of COVID, and then tried to get another job. I was furloughed, luckily, but when lockdown was over, I was looking for a job and I couldn't get one. I almost I had a job actually, and about 3-4 days before I was meant to start, I got a call from my manager, and they said, we're going to have to let you go because we can't work with you with your schedule. It's just, we're finding it too hard to like fit you in. So we're going to have to let you go. Sorry. And I tried to get another job and same thing happened. And it was just like, no one wants me. No one wants someone with a schedule like that. And so I tried going part-time in one place and part-time in another place. Again, even part-time, they were so like, it was really frustrating. So I told my manager about this situation, and we sort of had a chat about finances and stuff. And it was just kind of like, well, I guess we just got to make this your job then. So that's when it sort of hit me. I was like, oh, this is me now. I do this every day. I wake up every day and I'm in this studio making music. And yeah, it's probably only been a month. It was after the Youngblood tour, really, when that all happened. Yeah.
Amazing. That's such a cool story.
Thank you.
We've kind of, so actually the last question, we've kind of touched on a couple of bits that are coming up this year, you know, the headline tours, but what does this year look like for you?
A lot of shows. Obviously, second tour has been announced now. There will be another one. Some cool supports, some festivals, which I'm really excited to play. I've never done a major festival, so that's going to be really good. Loads more tunes. Yeah, just loads of things happening this year. It feels like this is going to be the year I'm going to have some pretty dark bags under my eyes by the end of it.
It'll all be worth it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, Will, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time.
It's all right, man. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Plant Daddies podcast.